Are we rolling, Bob?
We're rolling.
Introductions are in order. I'm John Barrows, otherwise known as Johnny. My brother Patrick, who I taught to cook. And our book is called How I Taught My Brother to Cook. The point being, if I can teach my brother to cook, I can teach anybody to cook.
Depends on who's saying that. If I could teach you to cook, I could teach anybody to cook. So the question is, which brother's teaching which brother?
That's for you to decide.
Or maybe it's both brothers are teaching both brothers.
Maybe it's
Who knows?
Maybe it's both brothers refuse to listen to each other, and so nobody knows how to cook.
Actually, was that a Twilight Zone or an Outer Limits? At any rate,
the point of this book, then, is to help people learn how to cook, as we say, intuitively or with improvisation. Are you paying attention, Patrick?
I'm paying
Or are you
attention.
ignoring me like usual?
No, continue.
All right. So, to continue, the point of the book is to help people to learn how to cook. People who already know how to cook, like to cook, and would just like to be a little bit more confident in the kitchen, meaning sort of give up the idea that you need to follow a recipe word for word in order to cook something good. As a matter of fact,
Some people are totally incontinent in the kitchen, I've noticed.
I know, like your mother, for instance.
That would be your mother, too.
Oh, okay. Jesus Mary. We would like to say that this book gives people permission to make mistakes in the kitchen, because regardless of whether it's cooking, having sex, whatever it may be, that you only learn by making mistakes. Now, Patrick's made several mistakes in both of those areas, so he's come along quite well.
Our parents made a mistake, obviously. And this is,
Patrick.
they didn't have a book, but I guess they had the permission to make the mistake, hence,
Here I am.
there he is.
Patrick, being the younger of 4 children, was clearly the mistake, but what the hell? I'll go with it. I'll go with Patrick's little sense of humor.
No. You came before me, so they had to make up for the mistake.
You learn by making mistakes, and this is what the book is about. We give you certain key, the book has recipes in it, fear not. We've got well over 100 what we call recipes, but really what they are is techniques for doing certain things with some examples of how to turn those techniques into different recipe ideas of your own. So again, what we're talking about doing here is saying, here's an idea, here's a concept, play with the concept and make something especially your own. The other part of the book, the other layer, if you will, in the book has to do with the kind of food that Patrick and I like to cook, which is essentially based on Italian or more specifically Tuscan cuisine. Not always, but that's where we're coming from, because that's where we got a lot of our training with people like Giuliano Buggiali. We grew up in a family that was at least half Italian. And it's also about other kinds of Mediterranean foods that we've both learned to cook. The other key part of this book is the structure of it, and that is, it's about Patrick and I, to put it gently, debating how to do something. Oftentimes, Patrick doesn't agree with me, which makes him usually wrong. Some of the times I don't agree with him, which makes me usually right. But the point being is that regardless of our bantering, and regardless of whether we strongly disagree with certain things that each other does or says, the point is that in the final analysis, and I hate to admit this, neither one of us is right and neither one of us is wrong. And by that we're trying to demonstrate that just because a recipe that you read says to do it a specific way, it doesn't make it the Bible. There is no food Bible. And that your way is as good as anybody's way, as long as the way it turns out is the way you like it, the way your family likes it, and it makes you happy and it makes you proud of what you've accomplished. Would you happen to agree with that, Patrick?
What? Would you say something? I wasn't even listening.
As usual, as usual. As
I'm
usual.
assuming nobody's watching this because they probably figured it was a commercial and they all went to the refrigerator. The only thing that I care about, the only kinds of foods that I cook are Italian, essentially Italian and American, because that is our heritage, Italian and American. But if you ask Johnny, we got French in there because Napoleon came in and had sex with ancestors in Abruzzi and all this other crap. But actually, the red hair did not come from our grandfather. It came from our grandmother, who was way down there below in Calabria.
So I have to help him along because he's an Italian expert. He just tempted
You're
me.
an Italian pervert, so shut up. Less. So I'm more narrow in my field of what I cook. I will try some.
I mean, that's a great point. Here I have to agree with Patrick, even though I hate to do it. But although, as I started to say several minutes ago before Patrick got on this tangent, our heritage is Italian. And so a lot of what we talk about is how to do certain things that come out looking and tasting like something Italian. But Patrick's point is one of the most key points to this book, and that is it's not that we're trying to teach you what to cook, we're trying to teach you how to cook. And your cooking ethic, whatever it may be, Chinese or Lithuanian or Bosnian or whatever it may be, it's always the same. It's always about thinking about what you're doing instead of simply doing something that somebody else in a book or a magazine is telling you to do. In my opinion,
you know what? I just happen to think, because we don't do these videos. We're non-professionals, but I was just thinking when they do these on TV,
right?
Like at a newscast or something like that, one person's talking, the other person's kind of like looking at you.
Right.
So I guess I should be looking at you when I'm speaking. You should be
adoringly.
Looking at me. Well,
adoringly, you mean? With awe?
Well, you would probably look at me adoringly, but I would look at I would consider it more respect, because adoringly is bringing out your hidden sexual tendencies, which I don't think anybody really wants to know about. Certainly me.
I'm certainly not ready yet.
So go ahead, continue with your thing, and I'm going to try to add this professional.
As we say, the book is not about, or our lessons that you'll be watching online are not about what to cook. It's about how to cook, regardless of what Patrick says. And by the way, he is the narrow-minded one here. He called himself somebody that sort of restricts himself to a narrow genre. Well, he does, and through Patrick you'll learn how to do things the tried and tested way from the past. For me, you'll learn about
the tried and testicle way.
the way to think about doing things in a new way. So you've got the old and rigid over here, and you've got the new and adventurous. So you've got the bookends here, the bookend brothers, if you will, of cooking. Or as we say, the click and clack of home cooking. And no matter what you do, don't cook like my brother.
I agree.